The night crew knew three things about the janitor on the fifth floor of the Naval Special Warfare Command building. He never missed a shift. He never made small talk. And he had a daughter who called every night at 8 p.m. sharp. Marcus Williams pushed his cart past the briefing rooms where men half his age planned operations in countries whose names stayed classified. He'd been mopping these floors for 2 years. The SEALs walked past him the way people walk past furniture, present, functional, invisible. He preferred it that way. Tonight was different. Tonight, Rear Admiral Dale Riston was hosting a reunion in Conference Room 5B. 20 years since his first SEAL team deployment, and he'd gathered the old guard. Their laughter rolled through the hallway like artillery fire. Marcus knew that sound, knew what men sounded like when they felt untouchable. He kept his head down and pushed the mop in figure eights, the motion automatic after 2 years. After 16 years before that, in different buildings, different countries, where he'd held different things in his hands. "Hey, buddy." The voice came from behind him. Marcus didn't turn, buddy. That's what they called him when they remembered he existed. Not his name, which was on his badge, just buddy. "We spilled some coffee in here. You mind?" He turned. Admiral Riston stood in the doorway, pointing to the conference room. Through the open door, Marcus could see men in casual clothes with military postures, beer bottles sweating on the mahogany table. A brown puddle spread across the floor near the window. "Yes, sir." Marcus rolled his cart forward. The room quieted when he entered. Not silent, they kept talking, but the volume dropped the way it does when certain people enter certain spaces, when someone who cleans appears among people who command. Marcus had cleaned up worse than coffee. He'd cleaned blood off helicopter floors. He'd cleaned sand out of weapon mechanisms while taking fire. He'd cleaned his daughter's tears the night he told her mommy wasn't coming back from the hospital. Coffee was nothing. "You know," Admiral Riston said, his words slightly loose with whiskey warmth, "we're talking about call signs. Everyone here earned theirs the hard way." He gestured around the room. "Hammer, Deacon, Wolf, Frost." Each man nodded as his name was called, a roll call of warriors. Marcus squeezed the mop. The coffee was already coming up. "What about you, buddy?" Riston leaned against the table, smiling. "If you had a call sign, what would it be?" "Mop, squeaky clean." The room chuckled. Not mean laughter, exactly, just men who'd never considered that the person holding the mop might have held other things. Marcus straightened. He looked at Admiral Riston with eyes that had seen things these men might have only read about in after-action reports. His daughter's words from that morning echoed, "Stand tall, Daddy, like you taught me." "Lone Eagle, sir." He said it quietly, just 2 words, then returned to mopping. The room went silent, not quiet, silent. The kind of silence that happens when a word detonates in the middle of a conversation. Admiral Riston's smile froze. "What did you say?" "My call sign, sir, you asked. It was Lone Eagle." The mop swished back and forth, figure eights. A man in the corner stood up slowly, gray at his temples, scar tissue on his knuckles. Lone Eagle was 160th saw Night Stalkers. There was a pilot. He stopped, stared at Marcus. "It can't be the same guy." Marcus said nothing. The coffee was almost clean. Another minute and he could leave. Admiral Riston stepped forward. His voice had changed, no longer loose with alcohol. Lone Eagle was the pilot who flew the Kandahar extraction in 2011. Took sustained fire for 40 minutes. Birds don't fly that damaged, everyone knows that. But he kept her in the air until every single operator made it out. He paused. Command put him in for the Silver Star. Marcus wrung out the mop. The water ran brown in the bucket. "That pilot died," Riston continued, but his voice had uncertainty now. "I heard he died, or discharged. Medical, I thought." "Medical discharge, sir. 2012. Marcus kept his eyes on the floor. Daughter was 3. Wife had stage 4 lymphoma. Government flew me back for the funeral, gave me 2 weeks, then expected me in Germany for the next deployment. He pushed the mop across the last section of floor. I chose different. The room had gravity now, a weight pressing down on all of them. You walked away. It wasn't a question. The gray-haired SEAL said it like he was reading a casualty report. I walked toward a little girl who'd already lost her mama. Couldn't let her lose her daddy too, not to a war that would still be there whether I flew or not. Marcus lifted the mop bucket. She needed a father more than the 160th needed another pilot. Admiral Riston's face had changed. The casual superiority was gone, burned away like morning fog. "Lone Eagle," he said slowly. "You're that Lone Eagle?" "Was, sir. Now I'm Marcus. Marcus Williams, night maintenance." He gestured to his name badge with the mop handle. "And this floor is clean. Anything else you need?" A man near the window stood up. Then another. Then all of them, rising like they'd heard a national anthem, old warriors recognizing one of their own. Admiral Riston reached into his pocket. He pulled out a challenge coin, the special warfare trident gleaming on one side, his personal commander's seal on the other. Coins like that weren't given lightly. They were earned in blood and sand, and the kind of nights that left scars the eye couldn't see. He held it out. Marcus looked at it, looked at the Admiral. "Sir, I'm not." "You're exactly." Riston's voice was firm now, command voice, the kind that expected no argument. "You saved 12 men in Kandahar. One of them was my nephew. He got to meet his daughter because you kept that bird in the air." He pressed the coin into Marcus's palm. "I heard the stories. I never got to say thank you. I'm saying it now." The coin was warm. Marcus's throat was tight. "Why didn't you say something?" This from the grey-haired SEAL. 2 years you've been here. You never said a word." Marcus pocketed the coin carefully, like it might break. "Said something to who, sir? I'm the janitor. You walk past me every day and don't see me. Why would tonight be different?" The truth of it hung in the air like smoke. Admiral Riston stood at attention, actually stood at attention for the man holding the mop bucket. "It's different now." Marcus shook his head slowly. "Respectfully, sir, I'm the same man I was 10 minutes ago. Same man I was when you called me buddy and made jokes about call signs. Only difference is now you know." He lifted the bucket. "The coffee's clean. Have a good night, gentlemen." He turned to leave. "Marcus." Riston's voice stopped him. Not buddy, not janitor, his name. Marcus looked back. "Your daughter, how is she?" It was the first time in 2 years anyone in this building had asked him a question about his life. "She's 13 now, sir. Straight A's. Wants to be a doctor." His voice softened the way every father's voice softens when he talks about his child. "She's the reason I wake up. She's the reason everything I did before mattered, because I came home to her." Riston nodded slowly. "The men you saved in Kandahar, they went home to their families too, because of you." He paused. "I think you're still flying, just in a different way." Marcus's eyes burned. He blinked it away. "Permission to ask a question, sir?" "Granted." "Tomorrow night I'll be here mopping this floor again. Will you still see me? Or does this moment disappear when it's convenient?" The challenge hung in the air. The room shifted uncomfortably. Admiral Riston met his eyes. "I don't know," he said, and the honesty was startling. "I want to say yes, but I don't know if I'm that good a man." He glanced at his team, then back to Marcus. "But I'm going to try. That's all I can promise. I'm going to try." It was more truth than Marcus expected. "That's all any of us can do, sir." He nodded once, not a servant's nod, but the kind shared between equals who have both seen the elephant and lived to tell about it. He pushed his cart into the hallway. Behind him, the reunion had changed. The voices were quieter now, thoughtful. He heard someone say, "We walked right past him. For 2 years we walked right past him." Marcus's phone buzzed. 8 p.m. exactly, he answered on the first ring. "Hey, baby girl. Did you smile today, Daddy?" It was her question every night. Since she was small, since she'd decided her job was to make sure he was okay the way he'd made sure she was okay. Usually he said trying or a little. Tonight he looked at the coin in his pocket, felt its weight. "Yeah, sweetheart, I smiled today." Because of what? He thought about the Admiral's face, about being seen. About men standing up, about the hard truth spoken and received. Because somebody finally asked the right questions, and because I get to come home to you. Her smile traveled through the phone. "I love you, Daddy. Love you more, Kiera. Always." He ended the call and continued down the hallway, the cart wheels squeaking their familiar rhythm. The same path he'd walked every night for 2 years. The same building, the same floors, the same routine, but something had shifted. Behind him, Admiral Riston stood in the doorway of the conference room, watching him go. The coin in Marcus's pocket felt like a promise, or maybe a question. Tomorrow would answer it. Tomorrow he'd come back, push the same cart, mop the same floors. and he'd see if the Admiral's eyes still held recognition or if tonight was just a moment, beautiful and brief, that would fade with the morning light. But tonight Marcus Williams walked a little taller. Tonight the man they called Buddy had reminded a room full of warriors that eagles don't stop being eagles just because they're no longer in the sky. They just find new reasons to stay grounded. And sometimes, the most heroic thing a warrior can do isn't flying into danger. It's coming home, staying home, being present for the one person who needs you more than any mission ever could. Marcus pushed through the exit doors into the parking lot. The night air was cool. His old Honda waited in the far corner, the spot he'd parked in for 2 years. He loaded the cart, locked up, and sat in the driver's seat. He pulled out the coin. Turned it over in his palm. The weight of it wasn't just metal. It was memory, recognition. The acknowledgement that who he'd been still mattered, even if who he was now looked different. His phone buzzed again, a text from an unknown number. "This is Admiral Riston. Got your number from HR tomorrow, 1400 hours, my office. I have a proposition. Also, thank you for your service." All of it, the flying and the mopping, both matter. Marcus read it twice, then typed back, "I'll be there, sir." He started the Honda. The engine coughed like it always did, then caught. In 13 minutes, he'd be home. Kiera would be doing homework at the kitchen table. He'd check her math, make her laugh with his terrible jokes, and tuck her in with the same words he'd said every night since her mother died. "You're safe. I'm here, that's never changing." The coin went into his pocket next to his heart. Tomorrow the Admiral might offer him something, or nothing. Either way, Marcus Williams would be okay, because the truest call sign he'd ever earned wasn't Lone Eagle. It was Dad, and that mission had no end date, no discharge, no walking away, just showing up. Every single day. For the one person who'd given him a reason to land and never take off again. He pulled out of the parking lot, heading home through streets that knew his route by heart. Behind him, the Naval Special Warfare Command building stood lit against the night sky. Inside, men were rethinking what they thought they knew about heroes. And maybe, just maybe, learning to see the ones who'd been invisible all along. Not all eagles soar. Some stay grounded by choice, by love, by the kind of courage that doesn't come with medals. The kind that shows up at 11 p.m. with a mop and leaves at 7 a.m., just in time to make breakfast for a 13-year-old girl who thinks her father hung the moon. She's not wrong. He did. He just did it quietly, one night shift at a time.